steadfast in thy word. Curve those.
The Lord be with you. Welcome to our next episode in our 3:16 study. Today we're looking at Proverbs 3:16, a nice small verse that has something to instruct us, something to teach us, something about wisdom and folly. The book of Proverbs is a textbook. Maybe not like a textbook that we've used in our schooling, but a textbook nonetheless on the important topic of wisdom versus folly. First of all, it's a textbook written for the children of Solomon. And maybe to be accurate, I should have said children of Solomon. Solomon probably had lots of kids. He had lots of wives and lots of concubines. Solomon was also someone who had attendants and counselors and aides and servants. They also had children. Solomon wanted to teach the children about wisdom and folly or foolishness. Two contrasting ideas. Think of a wise person you've met, and think of a foolish person you've met. You can probably see, hear the differences. You probably see the rewards, the consequences of their wisdom or their foolishness. It's an important topic. So first of all, I've tried to describe the two things. Wisdom, simple, plain, long-term stability. A lot of those are synonyms. Simple and plain does not mean drab, bland. Simple and plain can be very, very lovely. But simple and plain are very different than garish, extravagant. We know what those are. Over the top. Just over the top. Folly, maybe looking for something that's immediate or short term. Think of the story Jesus spoke in the Gospels about the wise and the fool who built houses. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The fool built his house right by the riverbed. The wise man, in building his house, it probably took longer because he had to dig into the stone, dig into the rock to get a foundation. The fool, he built his house by the riverbed. It probably went up very, very quickly. Didn't take any time. He was able to quickly sit by the river with his cup of coffee and watch the creek and the river go by, listen to the rushing waters. Short-term gain. But then when the rains came down and the floods came up, that house went away rather quickly. It had no foundation. What's the old adage you may have been taught, you may have experienced? Oh, that decision is penny wise, pound foolish. You got an immediate gain, of a penny or two. But in the long term, in the long run, it costs you a pound, the dollar. So the difference between wisdom and folly. If you've read through the book of Proverbs before, perhaps you've noticed the language that wisdom has built her house, or folly puts on makeup and adorns herself with all kinds of jewels. Wisdom is a she? Yes. Grammatically speaking, yes. And here's something that will get me in trouble, and that's okay. Words have gender. People have sex. Right? If you've studied foreign languages, you know that some words are masculine, some words are feminine, some words are neuter, neither feminine nor masculine. People are male or female. Words have gender, people have sex. Wisdom is a feminine word. It's just the way it is grammatically. And wisdom is closely associated with God. We are not saying anything about who God is. Right? God is beyond all of that. But wisdom is described with a feminine word. That's the way it is grammatically. Now, before we look at our 316, one more bit of information. Wrote back here, these are the books of wisdom literature. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs, Song of Solomon, Solomon's Song of Songs. So those 5 books, again, comprise wisdom literature. Wonderful things that you and I can learn. Let's look at Proverbs 3:16, and I'm going to read just a few verses around it for us, starting in verse 13. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. So that's just a little bit about wisdom. And Solomon talks about the person finding wisdom as if maybe you just kind of stumble upon wisdom. Oh, look at that. Look at what I found. I don't think it's quite so arbitrary as that. But wisdom is something that you gain through experience and through learning, right? You've probably met many people who have gone through all kinds of academic institutions. They've been to one school after another. And then you've met the person who was schooled in the College of Hard Knocks. I've had many discussions recently with people who talk about their ancestors only having an 8th grade education. You look at the tests required to pass the 8th grade, and you're thinking, wow, I didn't learn that stuff until I was a junior in high school or a sophomore in college. So schooling is good. It only gets you so far. There comes a time where you have to take what you learned in the classroom and apply it in your job, in your life. Wisdom may be that way. And then I guess also from the things you learn, do you ever apply them? Do you ever put them to the test? You can learn all sorts of theories in your engineering classroom. But have you ever actually figured it out, tried it out, and said, hey, yeah, that works? Or, well, that doesn't seem to work the way I learned it. Maybe I learned it wrong. Maybe I skipped a step. So wisdom is something that we find. It can be taught to us, but we actually have to put it to practice. Maybe like when you're trying to make a change in your life, you can be taught all kinds of steps. Do you ever follow those steps? Do you ever implement those plans? If you say yes, maybe there's wisdom. If you say no, maybe that's foolishness. Our verse 16 says, long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. And behind me, better than gold, silver, jewels, riches. Solomon knew about gold and silver and riches and jewels. The border, the boundary of Israel during the reign of King David and King Solomon was huge. Israel was never bigger than under those two kings. They were safe from foreign invaders. They had economic stability. Their religious life was pretty good. They traded across the sea. They traded overland. They had spices and gold and all kinds of riches. Wisdom is better than gold and jewels and precious gemstones. A few books ago, we talked about right hand, left hand kind of things. How your right hand is your hand of strength, your left hand, right? That's the sinister, evil hand. Now here in wisdom, long life is in her right hand, in her left hand are riches and honor. Both are good. Left hand is not sinister. Riches and honor are not sinister, evil things. But wisdom, long life is in her right hand. Long-term stability. The wise person makes plans for the future. The wise person does what's healthy to take care of this body. Long life is in wisdom's right hand. Riches and honor are in her left. Again, are you doing something that is good for just the short term? Or are you doing something that's good for the long term? Slow, steady gains over decades. Or $100 right now. I am no financial advisor. And that's not what this is necessarily about. This is about wisdom. Something that's simple without being simplistic. Something that doesn't dress themselves up, pretend there's something they're not. Something that's focused long term, that looks down the road. The book of Proverbs, Solomon's textbook on wisdom. Something that puts before our eyes wisdom, foolishness, tries to teach us to choose and look for God's gift of wisdom. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.